Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Chairman Burgess, the gentleman from Texas, for giving me the time here. I rise today in strong support of this rule, which will provide consideration for common sense legislation that will hold local leaders that are pushing an anti-police, pro-crime agenda on our states and on our cities. Mr. Speaker, as the only New Yorker on this side of the aisle today, I can tell you that I have seen firsthand what happens when a Democrat-run state bows to the radical left and embraces an unaccountable system of charitable bail funds and institutes full-blown bail reform. Violent offenders are getting a free pass, while law-abiding citizens are left to suffer. Look at the facts. The New York City, after bail reform, crime jumped 20% after they pushed forward this in the name of social justice. Judges can't even set bail for crimes like petty larceny or grand larceny or burglary. And who pays the price? Innocent American families. Now, unfortunately, my home state of New York is just one of many Democrat-run states in jurisdictions around the country that have given criminals a get-out-of-jail-free card. What's worse is that these policies have the full backing of the Democratic Party, including their nominees Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Harris, in particular, supported these radical bail funds, actively encouraging donations to bail out criminals, many of whom were charged with violent crimes. They are the faces of a party that have abandoned the safety of our communities in favor of appeasing a far-left mob. Democrats would have you believe that these policies are about helping lower-income communities. But let's be perfectly, honestly clear. These policies are hurting the very people they claim to protect. These multi-million-dollar bail funds, like the Minnesota Freedom Fund and the Bail Project, they aren't helping. They're putting violent criminals, domestic abusers, and sexual predators right back on the street. And who suffers? Everyday Americans in cities like New York and Chicago and San Francisco. These so-called reforms are nothing more than a betrayal of the people and a destruction of the rule of law in this country. Look no further than the facts. Groups like the Minnesota Freedom Fund bailed out individuals charged with violent crimes, including domestic violence and sexual assault. And Democrats are more than happy to just look the other way. They've decided that protecting a radical base is more important than protecting the innocent victims. This is what the Biden-Harris administration and Democrats across this country have stood for. Policies that prioritize criminals over communities, chaos over safety, and special interest over the hardworking American people. They've abandoned our law enforcement. They've turned their back on the very citizens they were elected to serve. I call on my colleagues across the aisle to listen to their constituents in their own Democrat-run states and cities who are absolutely fed up with rampant violent crime and fed up with a revolving door prison and jail system that Democrats and their bail funds have facilitated. They are sick and tired of watching their communities deteriorate and small businesses have to close due to crime skyrocketing. The least we can do, Madam Speaker, is ensure that these bail funds operate under some level of accountability and transparency. And I strongly support this rule today and the underlying legislation. And with that, I yield back.